Father, you are wanderer, worshipper, lover of leaving, causes no caravan of despair. Come yet again, come. Turn it on. The music you just heard is your invitation to settle in and prepare for our worship service. Please put your phones and devices in airplane mode for the duration of the service. This keeps them quiet and helps us provide a higher quality stream for our siblings attending virtually. Please know that whoever you are, wherever you are from, whomever you love, wherever you are on life's journey, you are welcome here. Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you. Welcome to San Gabriel Unitarian Universalist Fellowship. Whether you are here in the sanctuary or all of you watching at home, whether you are here for the first time or the 1000th time, we are glad you are here today. My name is Billy Adams. My pronouns are she, her, and I'm honored to serve as your lay leader. I am very excited this morning because one of my inspirational heroes is John Batiste, who will be playing or singing the national anthem at the Super Bowl today. He says over and over again that his music is a spiritual practice. It's not just pay to see me perform. And also, his creative team asked his wife, Suleika Jaward, if she would paint his piano, she's a painter and an author, for the Super Bowl. She's been through 2 bone marrow transplants and is now on chemo again and thought she couldn't do it, but she got a brief reprieve. And so there's going to be a lot more going on at the Super Bowl tonight than football. San Gabriel is a member congregation of the Unitarian Universalist Association. We are a movement working for a just, peaceful, and sustainable world. Sustaining each other in community here is one part of that work.
Good morning. I'm Eric Hepburn. My pronouns are he, him. I'm your pulpiteer. I'm going to skip my improvisation until after we light our chalice. So please join me in reciting the words to light our chalice. We light this flame to remind us love is the center. As we grow and connect, mature and deepen, love remains the center. When the light of truth burns all else away, love remains. Normally we jump right into a hymn here, but I think we might need a little more centering this morning. It has been a crazy few weeks. So, this is a practice I've shared with you all before. I will share it with you again. I'm grateful for those who shared it with me. It is the meta meditation, the meditation on loving kindness. The metta meditation is first practiced towards oneself, learning from the stewardess wisdom that one must place one's own mask over one's mouth and nose before applying the same help to others. So I'd like to invite you to settle into your seat, to sit quietly. Take a cleansing breath or 3 if that helps you settle yourself. And I would like for you to hold yourself gently, kindly, lovingly in your own thoughts, your own awareness, and repeat after me. May I be happy. May I be well. May I be safe. May I be peaceful and at ease. As I did, I imagine that you noticed that your voice was not alone. There are people in this room for whom you have some deep love and affection and kindness, and there are surely people outside of this room for whom you hold those feelings. Whoever's on your heart today, I'd like you to hold them in your mind and repeat after me. May you be happy. May you be well. May you be safe. May you be peaceful and at ease. Namaste. There is a third and harder iteration, but I'm going to save that for a little later. Let us greet this day in song. Our opening hymn is No Matter If You Live Now Far or Near, number 181 in the Gray Hymnal. The lyrics will be projected. Please rise in body or spirit as you are able. We are blessed this morning to have a joining ceremony, so I'd like to begin by inviting Pat Berthold from our membership team to the dais. This ceremony, the joining of new members, is one of the most important in the life of this congregation, in the life of this community. So let us pause here for just a moment of silent reflection to reflect on what draws us to be in community with one another, what we need from each other, and the obligations required from each of us to fulfill the needs of this community and its membership. Would the following new members please come forward as I call your names? As I call you up, Pat will assist you in signing the book. Carolyn Todd. I'm afraid she might not be here this morning, but Laura Morgan. Laura, did you make it? No, I think she's traveling this weekend. We'll bring her up and treat her properly another Sunday. All right, Emily Hunter and Zach Hunter. I'm sorry, I shortened your name, Zach. Zachary Hunter. You're only allowed to do that if you have permission. I don't know if you knew that. And last but certainly not least, we have the Verdine Tunnel family. Lauren Tunnel, Chris Verdine, Milo Verdine, and Oscar Verdine. Please come up. All right. Our new members have signed their names next to yours in our membership book. Do you agree to help our new members, to live into our covenant, to move together with us into our future with faith and vision? Do you pledge to support in times of sorrow and times of joy, to hold our lamp high and to light the path for all of us? If you agree, please state we do. Congregation, please join us in a unison reading of blessing for our new members. May your thoughts be wise. May your lips speak truth. May your heart know love, and your hands do good work all the days of your life. There is a holy tradition of anointing with oil. There are those who say that the anointing changes you, that it is the catalyst. I prefer the story that the anointing is an acknowledgement of a change already underway within you. The story that the anointing recognizes you as a being who has decided to open yourself up to being the change that the world and the life and Gaia and the universe and God need you to be. So with that, I will invite our new members to be anointed. Would you like to be anointed first, Oscar? Or would you choose to say no thank you? Why? If you choose. Do I have your blessing?
Yes.
You next? All right. No, it's not really visible.
Who wants to go first?
Do you want to go now? I'll come back to you at the end. Is that cool? I'm going to keep going this way. Krista, have your blessing. You want a little? You feeling like a breadstick this morning? I got a little olive oil for you. All right, ready? 1, 2, 3. Oh. It's like fire.
That's about right.
Note to self, learn how to make service more welcoming to all ages. No, sorry. New members, Pat, would you grab the microphone for us? New members, if you are willing, I invite each of you to state your name and if you'd care to share a line or two about what's in your heart or your mind in this moment, please do so. Would you rather step up to the mic or can we pass it? Pass it. That feels a little easier. You don't have to stand all the way up front. There we go.
I feel very welcome now. Thank you so much. I'm very excited. I'm happy. Thank you.
And his name's Chris.
I'm Chris, by the way. Yes.
I'm Lauren, and thank you for your patience with these two, making us feel very welcome.
You want to say something? Yeah. Okay.
My name's
Myrtle.
That's about right. Nice.
Well, I'm Zach, and this is Emily, and we've just felt such great energy radiating off of every single one of you that we've met at this community, and we feel totally honored to be a part of it in this way. So thank you so much.
I'm Emily, Zach's wife. What he said.
Hi, I'm Carolyn. I'm very excited to be here. I hope you're enjoying all the art from our fabulous artists here in our congregation. Thank you.
The membership committee team, has a little token for each of you. It's one of our chalice pins. So before you leave the dais, I will give you each one.
Thank you, Pat. Oh. Here you go, buddy. Step up right here.
I don't have any idea. Let me just stop you.
That was a different version of mic check 1, 2. All right. We are now one congregation. No longer strangers to one another. St. Gabriel Unitarian Universal Fellowship, please join me in a unison reading of our covenant. Oh, why don't we do this? We'll turn around and we'll read it together. Are you ready? And a 3, 2, 1. Seek to connect, take time to reflect, be direct, speak with respect.
How come it always ends with X?
Thank you, new members, and go in peace. It is now my pleasure to invite to the stage Sonny and Stella Perryman to perform this week's anthem with Jackie Karash on piano, Consider Yourself, from Oliver.
Consider yourself at home. Consider yourself one of the family. We've taken to you so strong. It's clear we're going to get along. Consider yourself well in. Consider yourself part of the furniture. There isn't a lot to spare. Who cares? Whatever we got, we share. It should be chance to be. We should see some harder days, empty harder days. Why grouse? Always a chance we'll meet somebody to foot the bill. Then the drinks are on the house. Consider yourself our mate. I don't ever have no fuss. For after some consideration we can stay. Consider yourself one of us. Consider yourself at home. Consider yourself one of the family. We've taken to you so strong. It's clear we're going to get along. Consider yourself well in. Consider yourself part of the furniture. There isn't a lot to spare. Who cares? Whatever we got, we share. Nobody tries to be la-di-da or uppity. There's a cup of tea for all. Only it's wise to be handy with the rolling pin when the landlord comes to call. Consider yourself our mate. I don't want to have no fuss. For after some consideration we can stay. Consider yourself one of us.
All children and youth wishing to go to their groups are welcome to exit. Everyone else, will you please join me in singing them out? Sometimes we're carrying something on our heart that can prevent us from being fully present. Here in this community, our sharing of these things with each other is medicine, is healing. And like all good medicine, it must be concentrated and potent. So we invite you to aim at 2 to 3 strong sentences. So if you are carrying a joy or a sorrow or both on your heart this morning, I invite you to share by raising your hand for the microphone. Thank you for sharing. And for all that remains unspoken among us, the love of this community is with you. I'm now going to invite Billy Adams to the pulpit to share a reading with you.
I invite you into a place of deeper stillness and reflection with this reading from Prentis Hemphill, our author that we study. Hemphill wrote, "Our definition of human and who we allow to belong has to be brought down from its perch of exclusivity and then disassembled and reimagined. We need to remove the imposed stratification and hierarchies. I choose to redefine humanity on terms bigger than my own reflection or my own comfort. Humanity is varied, changing, a species capable of great beauty and destruction, struggling to feel all that we are capable of. Love, for example, and the fear and reality of our death. A species still barely known to itself. Barely willing to call one another by name, and still only beginning to encounter the magnitude of being alive at all. What is it possible for a human to be? What is shared between us beyond phenotypes, which are briefly an organism's observable common characteristics, between phenotypes or regions? When we have been trained or traumatized into a warped belonging, we might think that the only way we can belong is to control the bodies of the people around us. Or we might have come to believe that belonging means that we have to hide our bodies and hide our feelings away. None of this is the kind of belonging that settles us or sets us free. Instead, we need to practice new ways of connecting and ways of creating relationships that are strange and beautiful.
Ways of being in relationship that are strange and beautiful. I don't know how it landed for you all, but I feel like strange and beautiful adequately describes our joining ceremony this morning. A little bit of ancient ceremony dabbled with some distraction, some all ages magic. Taking ourselves seriously enough to know that what we were promising each other mattered deeply, but not so seriously that we couldn't find a good laugh in the midst of it. In this chapter, our good friend Prentis Hemphill talks about the development of oddkin, which is a common expression used in the queer community for chosen family. I venture to say, I think of you all a lot like oddkin. I think of this church as a group of chosen family. We do choose to spend an awful lot of time together. And perhaps unlike family Thanksgiving dinner where you have to decide which parts of yourself have to get left behind so you can feel safe there, I hope that when you come here, you feel like you get to bring all of the bits and pieces of who you are. Even those bits you might not feel proud of every day. Maybe they're bits that are on your growing edge, but they need a safe place to find some sunshine and some air, some compassion from friends and neighbors in order to catalyze their healing. I think that's the kind of community that we aspire to be. And in this, we're still safely in the second stage of the meta meditation. we're wishing well to the people to whom it's easy to wish well. Those who are willing to show up in this room with us, their hearts and goodwill on their sleeves for all to see. Willing to struggle openly and earnestly and honestly alongside of us in an open desire and attempt to make the world a better place to the best that we can see what that might look like. In my doctoral program this semester, one of my classes is on the topic of mass incarceration. And so I'm going to take a slightly odd step in that direction as we're exploring Prentis's idea of expanding our we. Now, as a church that self-identifies as liberal, many of you, like me, are probably quite disturbed by the racial disparities of our criminal justice system, disturbed by the hundreds of thousands of human beings living in cages simply because they were trying to self-medicate using illegal drugs in a culture that refused to provide them with legal drugs, therapy, and counseling. Wondering if that's really the best we can do when someone is struggling, is offer them a black market that is a conveyor belt to imprisonment and slavery. Some of you may bristle at my seemingly casual use of the word slavery, but it was neither casual nor half-thought. There is only one exception to the 14th Amendment. They wrote it into law. If you are convicted of a crime, you are not protected. And if you research prison labor in its current forms, it lies on the continuum between indentured servitude and slavery. It is involuntary, for all intents and purposes, uncompensated labor. And it will not surprise you that a disproportionate number of the people who are stuck in that system, doing that unpaid labor against their own will, are people of color, are the descendants of the slavery we say we have abolished. Now, there are 900 rabbit holes I could fall down this morning on this carceral state issue. I'm going to try to weave around them and get back to this idea of expanding our we. Here's what I want us to think about this morning. What I want to invite us to struggle with this morning is not all the people in prison who probably shouldn't be there. But I want to struggle with the other end of that spectrum, and I want to ask a difficult question. At what point does one's behavior or history of behavior or harming of other human beings, at what point does one lose one's humanity punch card? At what point has one earned one's dehumanization? One's exemption from feelings of solidarity, of brotherhood, sisterhood, siblinghood, of earning and deserving to be treated in a humane way. What does that Rubicon look like? What does it smell like? What is the point of no return beyond which we are willing to say that someone is irredeemable? that someone is no longer within the realm of the protections we think should be granted to all human beings. As comforting and interesting as it would be for me to posit an answer to such a question, I don't have one for you. I have shared from this pulpit before some stories that reinforce my view that most of the time the people who are hurting people the most are the people who were hurt the most. I shared with you late last year the story from the book by Dr. Perry, The Boy Who Was Raised by a Dog, of a young man who was an unrepentant murderer and rapist. Unrepentant. And it took someone truly curious to figure out that as an infant, that young man had been abandoned in a crib for 10 hours a day, day after day, during his most formative years. That his inability to have human empathy and feeling and connection were somehow neither the result of malice nor his own fault. But it's so much easier, isn't it? Isn't it so much easier to say, nope, he crossed the line. He's out of the club. He crossed the line and it's his own fault. He had choices just like we all had choices, and you made your choices and now you're out of the club. You are no longer human. You're no longer inside the circle of our love and compassion and care. It's easier to think that person was born bad. They were born evil, just like they say in the movies. We want the world to be like a movie, good guys and bad guys. It's so much more complicated when everyone's doing the best they can with what they have. We know in our own lives that there have been moments we weren't proud of where the best we managed to do at that moment, sure as heck in the rearview mirror, did not feel good enough. I've preached before about not being defined by our very worst day. So, how do we reinvent a justice system, a restorative justice system, without answering this question of, is there a gone that is too far gone? How do we bring healing and restored relationship and restored health to those who have been harmed by crime, while also still bringing those same things, that restoration of relationship, that healing, to the person who is now the transmitter of this intergenerational harm? You understand, it's not an apologetics that I'm asking for. I'm not saying that Joe molested children and Joe was molested as a child, therefore Joe is off the hook. That's not that's not the conversation we're having. But the conversation we are trying to have is, once we know that Joe's acting out of this intergenerational trauma was a result of early intergenerational trauma, at what point do we as a people stand up and say, it's the trauma that needs interrupted, not the person that needs demonized? It is the trauma that needs interrupted, not the person who needs to be demonized. And then the deep and hard question: if we don't believe that the best we can do for our siblings is to lock them in cages, to enslave them, if we don't think that's the best we can offer, then what do we do with those whose damage is so deep that we don't know how to heal them? And I don't know, but I think it's a better question to sit with and struggle with than simply accepting the convenient and easy lie that they were born bad, they're just evil, and they're not human really at all. Because that's the way we live. right now. That's the way that our prison system functions right now. You cross the line and you lost your rights. You lost your membership rights to the club. You know that voting thing we're always on about? Yeah, you don't get to do that anymore. You know that participation thing, that stepping up and being there for your family thing? Oh yeah, you don't get to do that anymore. Not you can choose to or not to. You are now no longer eligible to go do that stuff because we are going to lock you in a cage instead. I know this is a weird way to back into this, but I'm doing it anyway. I made my weird little prison aside, and now we're going to talk about a letter that ended up in my inbox this past week. Some of the people on this email chain are members of this church, and some are friends and acquaintances of members of this church. Surprisingly, the email content comes from a Quaker pastor. His name's Philip Gully. He has a podcast and does online writing, as lots of pastors do these days. Apparently, our friend Philip was getting some flack for engaging in political rhetoric in his writings. And this letter is a reaction saying, he starts by quoting Gandhi, "Those who say religion has nothing to do with politics do not know what religion is." Well, amen. Amen. One of the reasons why I love Gandhi. So, the political and the spiritual inform each other. We can use our cognitive capacities to decide how those realms are different from one another, but they are not unrelated to one another. So, in the course of this, now, how many of you feel like when I say the word Quaker, like you know what that vibe is like? All right, enough people didn't put your hands up. So Quakers are the Gandhis of American Protestantism. Like there is no American sect of Christians more dedicated to nonviolence and peacefulness than the Quakers by and large. When you go to a Quaker church, you essentially sit in a silent meditation circle unless someone feels moved to speak. They don't have formal people like me up leading the congregation. It's all super hyper democratic. It's very much meditation circle. They get together and they chill in silence with each other. They actually live the precept that silence is the voice of God and everything else is a bad translation. So, these are the Quakers. They are hardcore. Like, they started the conscientious objection movement and were some of the first people in prison for not doing the draft in Vietnam. And in the wars before that one, including the Revolutionary War. The Quakers have been at the front lines of nonviolence for a long time, which is why I find this letter quite disturbing. Let me tell you why. In the past 24 hours, 3 people have suggested I stop writing about political matters and focus on spiritual issues as if a line neatly cleaves one from the other. While I'm no Jesus, I bet he wanted to scream when someone told him to stop picking on poor old Herod. I hail from a religious tradition, the Religious Society of Friends, which places a premium on truth-telling. As long as Donald Trump acts like a fascist, it is my moral obligation to name it, challenge it, and do what I can within my moral boundaries to end it. If the clergy in 1930s Germany had done the same, Hitler would have remained a no-talent artist peddling paintings on a street corner. In these same 24 hours, I've attended 2 public gatherings where someone has risen to say that love is the answer to our current troubles. I've written books about love, but to arm ourselves with sentimental love is akin to bringing a pea shooter to a gunfight. It is the very thing Donald Trump hopes we will do. He wants nothing more than for us to sing Kumbaya while he is gutting our democracy. I'll save my love for those he hurts. Thank you very much. A few selected. If someone has spent their life being unlovable, they should not and cannot expect love in return. If someone spends every waking hour hurting others, they should not be surprised when others are not inclined to treat them tenderly. And I'm not inclined to tell them that they should. If Donald Trump is scorned because he has jeopardized the lives of countless women, the contempt in which he is held is understandable and perhaps even justified. I am done affirming my love for people who wake up each morning thinking up new ways to harm others. While my morality will not permit me to treat them violently, I will not grieve when karma pays them back. It's time for a little straight talk. If a man is unswervingly devoted to making the lives of others a fresh and living hell, he should not expect to be repaid with forgiveness and affection. Neither should we expect ourselves or anyone else to love someone whose adult life has been spent in service to evil. Love is earned. If you want it, you have to give it. Love is far too precious to be cast before swine, who will only trample it under their feet, then turn and tear you to pieces. Philip Gully. I wanted to read that to you because I feel fairly certain that there are quite a few of you in this room whose day-to-day feelings are closer to Philip's than to what I've been preaching. And that's all right. As he says, it is understandable. What saddens me about this is when you dilute the word love with an adjective like sentimental. It is you who's gutting things. It is you who is minimizing the power that brings life to all of us into something for a Hallmark card. I have said before from this pulpit that if I thought that anxiety and hypervigilance were the path to healing the world, I would stand in those uncomfortable states with you, and that is the work we would do together. There's a great line here at the beginning of Prentis's chapter. There were about 18 lines in this chapter this week that I could have done a whole sermon on, but y'all didn't have 18 Sundays this month, so we're just going to have to settle. She's talking about parenthood. You have the parents who are already a little tired, who have not yet figured out that what makes them tired in part is the hypervigilance they will eventually abandon. Woo! The hypervigilance they will fail to eventually abandon, in my case. How many of you feel like you have abandoned your hypervigilance? I'm raising my hand seriously. I really honestly did. But I am 51 years old, and it took me 48 years to get there. So it is still a recent phenomenon. I would have kept the hypervigilance if I thought it was the way. Eckhart Tolle says that it's not a personal failure or a personal shame to be driven by ego, whether individual or collective. It is just a normal human thing for one's ego to resurge, for one to be concerned about one's identity, one's power, one's standing, one's perception in the sight of others. These are all normal human things. They're not things I'm inviting you to experience shame about. I'm not inviting you to say that because you feel like Philip feels about what's going on in the world, that that's something wrong with you. It's just something normal about you. It is worthy of normalization. It is just you having your human thoughts and feelings. But friends, it's not going to heal anything. That's the illusion that I won't let you keep if you want to stay there. In my research during the Black Lives Matter movement, I stumbled across a book. I shouldn't say stumbled across. I was introduced to a book by the faculty who taught an anti-racist workshop at the University of Texas, and the book is called Negroes with Guns. It's a story of returning World War I veterans, small town in Mississippi. They're being harassed and murdered by the Klan, and they arm themselves. So they arm their whole little community. They set up nightly watches. They do the whole 9 yards. And they are successful. So they took a situation where members of their community were being killed and lynched regularly, and they protected their community. The Klan would drive up in their pickup trucks and they would shoot in the direction of the Klan, and once they realized that it was not easy pickings, they would turn their pickup trucks around and leave. The men who write in the book talked about how they did not want to kill, but were willing to if it was necessary. They always fired warning shots first, and they recognized that the Klan didn't want a battle. They wanted easy victims. So the warning shots would be fired, the Klan would turn their pickup trucks around, and their community would be safe for another night. As a longtime follower of Gandhi, I really, really deeply struggled with this work. I could find nothing morally assailable in what they had done, why they had done it, how they had done it. It seemed 100% above board to me. But it made me curious, what is the difference between this and the nonviolence that Gandhi and King preached? What is the difference between defending your community in this way with the threat of violence and the other way? It is a small one, but it is noteworthy. They gave up that the people in the KKK trucks were savable. Was it their job to save them? Absolutely not. Did they owe them anything? No, quite the contrary. But it is still worth putting your finger on that the difference in those two strategies is whether you decide that some person or group of people is outside of the circle. And if and when you make that choice in your life, it is something you ought to do consciously. Frankly, I think they were right. I don't think that those Klan members were going to stop hurting them and their families. I don't think that they were in danger of waking up anytime soon to the inhumanity in their own actions and way of being in a way that was going to spare that community. And because their racial hatred and their ideologies of supremacy were so deeply ingrained and reinforced, their blindness to the humanity of those they were attempting to torture was probably going to stay blindness. I don't know why I am called to be on a different path than that. I would have an easier time doing what I saw other ministers do during the first Trump administration. I would have an easier time letting you get riled up and hypervigilant, and we could all complain together about how awful things are. And we could just other the crap out of those people who are hurting other people. I think I would have an easier time selling that to you. But I was called here by something bigger than me, and it will not allow it. Now, I have been a hypocrite. I shouldn't say that. You know how I feel about identity. I have done hypocritical things, but I am not a hypocrite. Like all of you, I would imagine, have from time to time dabbled in the fine art of hypocrisy. Like most good meals, it has a bit of a soupçon. My hypocrisy looks like this. I will use a tool that we've been talking about from Brené Brown. The story I'm telling myself is that Donald Trump's primary way of operating in the universe is as an outrage catalyst. It seems that most of what he does is driven by whatever he thinks will make this group of people super angry and this piece of people who's already really angry super happy that somebody else is pissed off with them now, even though it's about something different. So as an energy vampire and outrage catalyst, my primary response to him is to give him as little of my attention as I ethically can. So I watch the headlines every day so I'm aware of the main things that are going on. I understand now that our goal is to take over Gaza, displace 2 million people out of their homes and turn it into a new Mediterranean resort community. Fantastic. I was thinking what we needed was another playground for rich people, not peace in the Middle East. Fantastic. I love that. They say sarcasm doesn't work well from the pulpit. I'm not sure I agree. But I will tell you what I have not been doing and why I accuse myself of hypocrisy. I have been living like a beleaguered resident of a town in Mississippi, believing that my assailant is beyond redemption. I have been living with my rhetorical shotgun next to the window of my little cabin of reflection, writing and preaching. And when I need to, I point it out the window and fire a warning shot. Because I really struggle to believe that he is inside the wall of those who can be helped and healed. So I have not spent any time praying for him. I have not spent any time meditating and hoping that the divine that has touched my heart will find a way to touch his. I watched how he sat through the speech of the Episcopal preacher the day after inauguration. She tried to reach out and touch. He was not interested. I refuse to also turn him into a Voldemort. I have learned my lessons from Harry Potter. But I will not speak his name any more frequently than I must. I told you we were skipping the third and hardest part of the meta-meditation for the end. And that's where we're at now. Before we do that, you know it's coming, and you're already cringing in your seats. I can feel it. Me too, a little bit. Me too, a little bit. There's a line I skipped from the letter. Recently, a woman told me that she hated Donald Trump for stripping women of their reproductive rights. That's an interesting sentence. That's an interesting sentence. That's a lot of power for one person to have. Here's what's interesting to me. I love the fact that it lets the Supreme Court justices off the hook. And it lets all the Congress people off the hook. And it lets I believe, if my numbers are correct, the 49.7% of your brothers, sisters, and siblings who voted in the last election, it lets all of them off the hook. Now, what do we call it when we take one person and hold them accountable for the actions of entire systems and populations? I believe we call that scapegoating. Now, in the language of Prentis's book, we talk about scapegoating of the powerless. But I think we scapegoat the powerful as well. You see, if it's all Donald Trump's fault, and all those other people were just manipulated by him into making this terrible decision, but if it hadn't been for him, they would have known better. We get to what's the number? I don't know. We get to let a couple 100 million people off the hook for making bad choices, and we can just hold up this one person and make them the problem. Isn't that convenient? It's like a Bond villain in our very own movie. We might have to hold all of each other accountable if we want to heal out of this. We might have to refuse to scapegoat one person, not because the harm isn't real, but because the harm is so real that we deserve a deeper truth. The harm is so real that we deserve not to eat the comforting lie that this is one person's fault, that Hitler did the Holocaust by himself. What did they say? In grad school, I was taught a lesson. If a book mentions Hitler, they've already lost the argument. Well, what does that mean? It means you have fallen into the trap of scapegoating, and you're no longer engaged in the deeper, more real conversation that has to happen. All right. I'm going to invite you into the difficult version of the meta-meditation. You do not have to pick Donald Trump, but I invite you to. You may pick anybody who you have a challenge with, anybody who right now feels like they might be near or on the other side of that line of acceptable humanity into which you are willing to accept them and wish loving kindness for them. You may pick anyone you like. But I want you to notice this. When I say, may you be happy, I want you to recognize that we're not inviting someone to be happy with doing things that would make any functioning human being unhappy. I'm not inviting people to be well and continue to behave the way they have behaved in the past. Wellness would imply a certain type of changes in some of our behavior, would it not? When I say, when I wish for you to be safe, I want you to recognize that to be safe would be an abandonment of every action you take in your life due to your own insecurity. For some of us, particularly the named Orange Menace, walking through life feeling safe would be a huge shift. Would it not? Do you think that the rampant attempts to make everyone else feel unsafe come from nowhere? May you be peaceful and at ease. All right, we're going to try it, folks. And then I'm going to let you off the hook. I'll try not to scapegoat you. But please repeat after me. May you be happy. May you be happy. May you be well. May you be well. May you be safe. May you be safe. May you be peaceful and at ease. May you be peaceful and at ease. Thank you.
We take an offering each week to sustain this spiritual home and to support the work of our fellowship. If you are visiting, we invite you to fill out a visitor card, which you can put in the plate or return to the visitor welcome table in the back. For offertory music, Gene Olson will play Shout to the Lord by Darlene Jack.
Sometimes we're called to add our voice to the chorus. Sometimes we're called to speak aloud a message resonating in our hearts. If you're called to reflect, express gratitude, or share an announcement, please raise your hand for the microphone.
My name is Stephanie, and I have a reflection based on what you talked about today. About 15 years ago, our juvenile justice system here in Williamson County moved to a restorative justice program. 2 weeks ago, we had a groundbreaking for a new trauma-informed care building. So I want you to know that our juvenile justice system, if you know any teens that wind up getting into trouble, it's the best place for them. They are really there, full of counselors.
Hi, my name is Rob. Some of you in this room may have been here last Sunday afternoon and experienced a process failure. We had a couple of groups trying to occupy the same space at the same time, doing different events. So that points out that we have some gaps in our calendaring process that need fixing. So, how many of you read your newsletter every week? For those of you who don't, I invite you to look at this week's, where we announce that we have an update to our calendaring process. If you're trying to schedule an event, I invite you to go on our website and look at our calendar and see if there's something going on in the time frame that you want to schedule something for. If there is, you might want to reconsider when you're going to do it. We're also changing our process so that events now show the name of the event, and not only the time, but also where it's being held. So if you want to do something in the sanctuary, and there's already something else going on here, it should show that. Anyway, so we're trying to get better. It takes time. Thanks.
Thank you, Rob.
We welcome back our kiddos. Sounds like we got great joy, laughter, and fun. Thank you. So great to have our
They're
religious
wondering what I
educator.
did to you while they were gone.
Guess what, y'all? You're UUs. You are called to action when our state legislatures are in session. And I want to read to you on reproductive justice what Unitarian Universalists have to say. The right of individual conscience and respect for human life are inalienable rights. And they are due every person. And the personal right to choose in regard to contraception and abortion is an important aspect of these rights. And so I am calling upon you, as our Texas UU Justice Ministry is as well, to fill out a postcard to send to our legislators. They are at the back of church. And I've asked Stephanie to stick around too as our school board trustee. She brought for us today information about how you can write your legislators in a very positive manner, how you feel about funding of our schools and our education system. So please stop by the back table and use your right to speak up for justice. Thank you.
Thank you, Michelle. All right, quick announcement from the pulpit. We're announcing the rebirth of the San Gabriel movie night tradition. We're calling it Second Saturday Sunset Screening. Repeat after me. Second Saturday Sunset Screening. You now know what day of the month it's happening and what time it's happening, no matter what month it is. It's happening at sunset on the second Saturday of the month. We're going to have a film. We're going to have a discussion after the film. Now, I know technically next Saturday is the third Saturday, but we're doing our first one next Saturday. So just bear with me. We're going to be having a viewing of CSA, the Confederate States of America. It's a 2004 American mockumentary film by Kevin Wilmot exploring what happens if the South wins the war. All right. It should be a lively discussion, and it was our secret movie cabal's pick for Black History Month. So we invite you to put that on your calendar, 6:20 p.m., Saturday, February 15th. If you don't like driving home at night from an evening event, please reach out to our care team so we can help arrange carpools for those who want to participate. The movie viewing in this space is much better when it's dark outside. That's why we're doing it in the evening, not during the day, okay? But not because we don't care about you or don't want you here. If you want to be here, we want you here. Let us help you find a way to be here if that's what you would like. Okay. I am going to move us along to our second hymn. We're just going to sing one verse of it because I kept you late. So one verse here of number 1046, Shall We Gather at the River?
As we prepare to return to the world, we remind ourselves through our affirmation to carry our work from this place to every corner of our lives. Please join me in the call and response. Love is the doctrine of this church.
We are here to love.
The quest of truth is its sacrament.
We are here to learn.
Service is its prayer.
We are here to care for others.
To dwell together in peace.
We are here to live in peace.
To seek knowledge and freedom.
We are here to honor our differences.
To serve humanity in fellowship.
We are all connected in spirit.
To the end that all souls shall grow in harmony with the divine.
We are here to grow.
Thus do we covenant with each other.
This we promise to do together.
Please join me in reciting the words to extinguish the chalice. We extinguish this flame to remind us love is the center. As we explore and rest, engage and heal, love remains the center. When all we can see is cold ashes, love remains.
I was at a luncheon this week for LGBTQ opening and affirming congregations hosted by St. David's in Austin, and I learned a new phrase that I want to share with you. Genderful. So there's a push for gender neutral, right? So I have replaced my beloved brothers and sisters with siblings. And it never quite had the same punch for me. And what one of the ministers there said, that the cutting edge in the gender movement is now to have more genderful expressions. So now I get to, without reservation, say, brothers, sisters, and siblings is genderful, right? Some people want the labels, and some people want to know they're included when they don't fit the labels. So we use all the labels. I love it. Brothers, sisters, and siblings, go in peace with my blessing and each other's blessings. May love be with you this week. Amen.